From this episode of IP Tesla, you will know: why does the patent not give the status of the father of radio? How did Tesla go bankrupt? Why he couldn't successfully create a radio out of the earth, and how was justice served after the Tesla's death? Get ready for a long dive. In the last episode, the war of currents had ended. It demonstrated the inventive genius of Nikola Tesla and of course gave him some money. Back to the 80s. This time, Tesla's great mind will be tuned to the waves of the wireless transmission.
In the middle of 19th century, scientists Michael Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell separately predicted the existence of electromagnetic waves. Maxwell's work have greatly influenced the understanding of electromagnetic waves. And what we know now? Electromagnetic waves are the result of contact between an electric field and magnetic field. Both these fields are related to the electrons. When electrons move back and force an alternating current, they create electric and magnetic fields and, consequently, electromagnetic waves. Experimentally, the presence of such waves was proved by Heinrich Hertz in 1886–89. Hertz's experiments led to the creation of a new technology called radiotelegraphy. And let's look at how electromagnetic waves work, using the example of a radiotelegraph. The radiotelegraph consists of a transmitter, a receiver, an antenna and a telegraph key. The transmitter causes the movement of electrons and the emitting of electromagnetic waves. The receiver gets these electromagnetic waves. An antenna is an essential part of both the transmitter and the receiver. Through antenna, radio waves are propagating by the transmitter and receiving by the receiver. Antennas can improve the signal in terms of its quality and possible range of the communication. The telegraph key is a switch. It allows to turn on and turn off the transmitter. By using it, operator could transmit messages in Morse code. Let's go back to electromagnetic waves. Actually, there are a lot of different types of electromagnetic waves, but radio waves are interesting for us. The radio waves can travel long distances through the air without the need of wires or cables, making them ideal for wireless communication. The type of electromagnetic wave is determined by its frequency. The frequency of electromagnetic wave is directly proportional to the voltage of its source. So, to receive radio waves, we need a certain voltage in the transmitter and the receiver. The spark gap transmitter used by Heinrich Hertz propagated various types of electromagnetic waves. It was not very well suited for radiotelegraphy. Radiotelegraphy required more advanced technologies.
Let's pay more detailed attention to the inventive steps of Nikola Tesla. The starting point of Tesla's connection with radio waves and Hertz experiments is the Paris exhibition, which is more detailed in our report.
The Universal Exposition of 1889 in Paris was a real spectacle. Over 32 million people came to see the exhibition, and the main attraction was the Eiffel Tower. But there was so much more to see and experience. Famous people from all over the world came to the exhibition, including Thomas Edison, but one of the most important guests was Heinrich Hertz, who confirmed the existence of electromagnetic waves. 3 years before the exhibition, Hertz started experimenting with the electromagnetic field. He used an electrical circuit with metal balls attached, leaving a gap between them. When the current passed through the circuit, a spark formed between the balls. The electrons of the electrical circuit generated electromagnetic waves. To catch these waves, Hertz used the receiver, which was another ring of wire with metal balls and a gap. When a spark formed between the transmitter's balls, a spark also formed in the space between the receiver balls. This experiment was a significant breakthrough in science and a real spectacle at the exhibition. Can you imagine the impression it must have made on minds of ordinary visitors? It shows how sometimes the most seemingly simple experiments completely change the understanding of the world around us.
After the Paris exhibition, Tesla returned to New York and began his own research in the field of wireless energy transmission. He started with a spark gap transmitter, which was already created. And one of the main disadvantages of a spark transmitter was that it emitted a wide range of the frequencies and not only the radio waves. As a result, the whole signal from the spark gap transmitter was subjected to unwanted electromagnetic interference, and such interference can be created, for example, by power lines that transmit electricity from the power plant to the households. And this made the spark gap technology unsuitable for widespread use. Bearing this in mind, Tesla set up a 5 steps to achieve. The first and second step were creation of an oscillation in an electric circuit capable of generating electromagnetic waves. Okay, he needed a good transmitter. And on March 10, 1891, Nikola Tesla patented a device that became part of a more advanced invention that we now know as Tesla coil. All devices combined under the name Tesla coil work as follows. There is an electricity source that starts an electric current through the circuit. This source connects to a transformer which increases the voltage. This makes the electricity stronger. As part of the circuit, there is an energy storage, a capacitor. Accumulating the maximum level of energy, it releases the energy further in a spark gap, as a result of which a spark gap is formed. Next, the energy from the spark passes to the wire of the primary coil. A powerful and rapidly changing magnetic field is formed around the primary coil. This magnetic field creates an electric current on another coil of wire of the secondary coil. The electric current from the secondary coil accumulates in the upper part of a Tesla coil called the top load. When a large amount of energy accumulates in the top load, sparks begin to emanate from it. Radio waves are a byproduct of Tesla coil operation. Radio waves propagate at the moment of spark formation in the spark gap, as well as at the moment of spark formation on the upper load. In general, the Tesla coil is an advanced spark gap transmitter. Tesla applied for the protection of the Tesla coil as we know it on September 2, 1897. It was patented in 1900. For most people, the Tesla coil was a tool for magical performances, when two glass tubes without wires connected to them emitted powerful light. The Tesla coil experiment made it possible to attract a huge attention to his person as inventor. But this did not attract significant attention to Tesla's research in the field of radiotelegraphy. The Tesla coil was an excellent source for creating high-frequency electrical oscillations. Electrical oscillations refer to the periodic reciprocating motion of electrons in an electrical circuit. Such electrical oscillations perfectly coped with the task of generating radio waves. The Tesla coil allowed for the transmission of high-frequency radio waves over long distances without using wires. This was a significant development in wireless communication and laid the groundwork for later invention of radio. The third step in Tesla's radio program was development of methods and devices for receiving electromagnetic waves from anywhere in the world. Yeah, he needed a good receiver, and this is the part where we pay attention to robotics. Nikola Tesla got an amazing receiver as a part of his other famous invention, radio-controlled ship.
One of my ideas was to generate at the receiving station oscillations of a certain frequency and then combine them with an incoming oscillation to obtain beats. And later on, in 1898, I worked this idea into an invention which has been called teleautomation and tried everything in my power to have adopted. But everybody was ridiculing my efforts. Everybody said it's impractical, and after my patent expired, I have now the pleasure of simply looking on when others are using my inventions, which I could not persuade people to adopt. This is usually so.
Remotely controlled boat, this is a replica, of course, of Tesla's remotely controlled boat from 1898. His first showing of remotely controlled boat was in 1898. And usually we said that it's second most important and most memorable Tesla's patent. The point is in wireless communication. Of course, now we have usage of signals almost everywhere, and we base our daily communication and our life in signals. Radio, TV, satellite, Wi-Fi, of course, many more. The point is that Tesla first used signals to create first remotely controlled device. And that boat in 1898 was first remotely controlled device. That's why we usually said that it's second most important and most memorable Tesla's patent. First time he showed that in Madison Square Garden in New York, and almost few months after that also in Chicago. The point is that any wireless communication between two devices start, let's say, from that boat, from 1898. Of course, there is one more interesting patent that we will talk later about, that it's a little bit before this one. The importance, don't be afraid, we just use Tesla coil in our museum. The point is that after that starts a new era. Usually when people talk about remotely controlled boat, they see like first remotely controlled toy. But the point is that Tesla at the beginning didn't see that just like remotely controlled device. He see that also as the first robot. And for example, when he gave some shows with that boat to show the people the working of the boat, there were some moments, for example, because boat is working when it goes on one side, when you move this steering to go, for example, on the right, one of these light bulbs light up. When you go on the other side, these other light bulbs light up. And in one moment, Tesla make show and let people to ask him question that he will answer with yes or no, but the boat will answer. So for example, one light is yes and one light is answer no. And of course he is answering the question, but the idea of a robot in that moment, it's something that is really visionary. Let's say not one, even more than 1 century before robots and robot age.
The fourth and the fifth Nikola Tesla steps were more comprehensive. The fourth was to improve his transmitter, and the fifth was to deduce the laws of nature itself. And all these were the tasks for a lifetime. And after first 10 years of acquaintance with Hertz experiments, Tesla had not only the idea of wireless communication on the whole world, but also a lot of interesting patents.
Today we are in the Museum of Communications. Modern communication, as we know it, is strictly connected with sending information wireless methods. By the beginning of 1903, Tesla had about 70 patents and patent applications. Most of them were filed in the United States, but there were also applications in Canada, Switzerland, Great Britain, Denmark, and Austria. For obtaining patent protection, the priority date is very important, since the patent rights start to function from this date. The earlier this date is, the more chances the author have to be named the inventor of certain technology. Priority date is usually determined by the date of filing an application in each particular country. But thanks to the Paris Convention, we can determine priority date according to the date of first filing in any country participating in the convention. For some reason, Tesla didn't use this right. Only 7% of his applications were filed using conventional priority. Although the Paris Convention, which was adopted in 1883, has been in force for already 20 years by that time. Tesla could use conventional priority for all countries where he applied, except Canada. Canada will join the Paris Convention only 20 years later, in 1923. Some Tesla's patents are based on several applications at once. Their filing dates differ by 2 or 3 months. It looks like while working on one topic, Tesla submitted an application before achieving the best results, and later submitted additional application where he revealed the better versions of his devices. Tesla applies for patents in various fields: dynamo machine, steam engine, electromagnetic motor, apparatus for producing ozone, and even electric railway system. All of the applications are more or less connected with electric power transmission. But the closer 20th century is, the more applications are devoted to using effects transmitted through natural media. Obviously, Tesla becomes obsessed with an idea of sending electromagnetic signals through the Earth and around the world.
Okay, it is really important to know how everything works and how great Tesla's intention and invention were, but what about Tesla's public communication? In 1892 and 1893, Nikola Tesla spoke a lot about his vision of wireless energy transmission in St. Louis, Columbia, New York, Philadelphia, London, and Paris. Okay, it is really significant. But what can they say about demonstration of wireless energy transmission technology? On February 1893, Tesla demonstrated the potential of his technology to transmit information using electromagnetic waves. Tesla conducted a series of experiments, mostly in his laboratory. And the problem with these experiments were that they were not well documented. Thus, we do not know exactly when Tesla first transmit radio signal. And so we cannot easily talk about his priority or the other inventors. Of course, we can't blame Nikola Tesla for that, because sometimes, by the act of God, things can go awry. On March 13, 1895, the fire destroyed Tesla's laboratory and all of its contents. The fire caused serious financial problems for Tesla, and what is more important, deprived us of important evidence of Tesla's experiments. This was a huge shock to Tesla and a big obstacle to his ongoing projects.
I'm in too much grief to talk. What can I say? The work of half my lifetime, very nearly all my mechanical instruments and scientific apparatus that it has taken years to perfect, swept away in a fire that lasted only an hour or two. Everything is gone. I must begin over again.
In 1896, Tesla established new laboratory in New York and continued his experiments. In 1900, Tesla also had a public demonstration in Paris, where he wirelessly transmitted signal across the room. In that time, Tesla conducted a series of experiments in Colorado Springs, and his experiments proved the usability of his improvements of coil and ability to send and receive the signal from far.
At that time in Europe, in the backyard of his family house, a young Italian inventor, Guglielmo Marconi, was building and constructing transmitters receivers for wireless signals. Guglielmo was born in Bologna in 1874, and at his young age he demonstrated interest in physics, particularly in works of Maxwell and Hertz. When he was 21, he really transmitted a wireless signal for the distance of 1.5 miles. And now it sounds a little bit strange and absurd, but at that time it was a sign, a real sign that a new great inventor was born. 2 years later, in 1895, he received a first patent. Obtained a first patent in England. It was a patent for improvements in transmitting of electronical impulses and signals. Let's have a look what patents of Guglielmo Marconi were about.
In 1903, Marconi's patent portfolio was much smaller than Tesla's. There were only about 20 patents in his portfolio, and they all covered different types of devices connected to wireless technology and wireless telegraphy. Marconi chose for patent in the same countries as Tesla: the United States, Great Britain, Canada, Denmark, and Switzerland, the commercial centers of that time. The only difference was that Marconi didn't file patent applications in Austria, but it's understandable. For Tesla, Austria was the place where he grew up. Choosing what exactly you want to protect is one of the most important and difficult parts in all patent process. And here, Marconi and Tesla had completely different approaches. Tesla's patents protect a method or a single part of the key technology, but not the device as a whole. Thus, Tesla's inventions could be protected even if they were used in completely different fields. Perhaps Tesla understood the importance of his technology and calculated its potential, and that is why he decided to choose this particular type of patent strategy. But there also could be a simpler explanation. Tesla devoted himself to a topic or a phenomenon and not to the device. Marconi, on the contrary, patented the entire device and method of wireless signal transmission. On the one hand, it helped him to protect the device as a whole and not its particular parts, but on the other hand, it was a weak part of his patent strategy, since changing some particular parts without changing the device as a whole would help in some cases to overcome Marconi's patents. Based on Marconi's patent strategy, we can conclude that he was hardly working on one single topic: wireless signal transmission. And he was looking for the best solution to implement his device in the new technology. At the same time, Tesla and Marconi had something in common in their patent strategies. They both tried to file patent applications as soon as they had an opportunity. Tesla filed his first application in a year after he arrived in New York, as soon as he received funding. And Marconi filed his first application in 2 months after he arrived in the United Kingdom and found an investor for his wireless telegraph project.
If you want to be recognized as a father or mother of wireless technology, it is not enough to obtain a patent. It is not enough to obtain 2 patents, even dozens of patents. In addition to patents, you need to create a marketing buzz, to be a guru of intellectual property commercialization. And this was about Guglielmo Marconi, in total difference with Nikola Tesla. While Nikola Tesla was demonstrated his equipment, his technology in very close circles of American scientific professors and physicians, Guglielmo Marconi arranged the real shows, a real marketing events, improved to demonstrate his technology to the world. One time, he take his equipment to the shore of open sea and sent a signal across the open sea. Even the distance between 2 points of transmitter and receiver was only 3 miles. The signal was, "Are you ready?" Maybe Guillermo thought that, "Are you ready, Nikola Tesla? I am going for you. I am going to America." And really, in 1899, technology of Guillermo Marconi arrived in America. It arrived on the board of ocean liner St. Paul, and this liner sent a signal, "I have arrived to America." And it was a first time when ocean liner sent a signal. So Guillermo arrived to America. Are you ready, Nikola Tesla? And what Nikola Tesla? Is he ready? Is he ready for arrival of his principal competitors to America? Nikola has already obtained several patents protecting his technology. But is it enough? Is it enough if your competitor has huge marketing campaign and monies, principal competitive advantage? How do you like it, Nikola? What you will do now?
The interests of the Serbian and Italian inventors clashed in the United States Patent Office. On November 10, 1900, Marconi applied for the United States patent on invention apparatus for wireless telegraphy. But we remember that Nikola Tesla had a list of patents in the United States and in the world. I mean, literally a list. And while the United States Patent Office considered the application, Nikola Tesla thought, "Marconi is a good fellow, let him continue. He is using 17 of my patents." In 1903, United States Patent Office initially denied Marconi's patent on the basis of Tesla's patents. Many of the claims are not patentable over Tesla patent numbers 645576 and 649621. The amendment to overcome said references, as well as Marconi's pretended ignorance of the nature of a Tesla oscillator, being little short of absurd. The term Tesla oscillator has become a household word on both continents. But after a sudden revision of the decision on June 28, 1904, Marconi was granted patent. Why did this happen? What for? And by whom? We don't know. All we know is that from that moment on, luck turned sharply away from Nikola Tesla to Guillermo Marconi.
In 1903, both inventors were getting close to the first working solution of wireless signal transmission. It was planned to use this solution for telegraph, but the same design of signal transmission could be used for transmitting the radio signal. That is why Tesla and Marconi could be considered the first inventors to create a radio. In 1893, Tesla conducted a series of lectures and demonstrations to show the possibility of wireless signal transmission, and in 1897 he filed his first patent application for wireless signal transmitter. After 3 years, he was granted a patent. In this patent, it was said that this device could be used in various fields. For example, it could be used for sending meaningful signals for long distances. This allows us to attribute Tesla's patent to a radio patent. In February 1900, Tesla filed his patent application for apparatus for electrical energy transmission. In the field of the invention, it was said that this apparatus makes possible to transmit signal from one point to another remote point. Unfortunately, it was not a happy ending. Actually, it was just the beginning of a long battle. In November of the same year, Marconi filed his own patent application for wireless signal transmitter. It was not the radio in its purest form, but it was a wireless signal transmission for telegraphy. It may seem that Tesla's patents describe the transmission of electrical energy, while Marconi's devices were designed to transmit information. But in fact, those two processes are the same. In fact, we use the transmission of electrical signals to transmit information. We just need to add two additional stages. First, we need to encrypt information in a signal. Then we transmit a signal, and then we interpret the received signal. The Patent Office refused to grant a patent to Marconi due to the presence of earlier inventions of Tesla. The examiner decided that The whole design of Marconi's invention was totally dependent on the transmitter, which was described by Tesla. At that time, the fame of Tesla's invention was really great. The examiner referred not only to the Tesla's patents, but also to Tesla's lectures, and said that after the Tesla's lecture in 1897, the term Tesla coil became well-known household word. Marconi stated that he never knew about Tesla coil, but the examiner decided that this statement was absurd. In fact, Marconi's invention was dependent on Tesla's invention. In large Marconi device, there was one small part patented by Tesla. In such cases, Patent Office could issue a patent, but only if other parts of the device are not known from other sources. In this case, Marconi could use his device, but only if he had a permission from Tesla. Otherwise, he would violate Tesla's patents. Unfortunately, a few decades later, it turned out that all parts of Marconi's device were known from the works of other inventors. In this case, Patent Office couldn't issue a patent. But for some reason, in 1904, Patent Office re-examined his decision and granted a patent to Marconi.
In the eye of public, this patent eclipsed all patents of Nikola Tesla, and for Marconi himself, this patent became an endless gold mine. In 1903, Marconi's device allowed the first exchange of messages using the wireless communication between the President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, and the King of Great Britain, Edward VII, over the ocean. The more people used Marconi's radiotelegraph, the more it proved important. On April 15, 1912, Titanic sank, and Marconi's radiotelegraph helped sailors to send a call for help from a sinking ship, and messages from nearby ships were used to coordinate rescue operations for those in danger. If you watch James Cameron's movie Titanic closely, you can see that the ship's wireless communication was provided by Marconi's company. Marconi's wireless communication technologies played a crucial role in the First World War. It allowed to exchange information with allies and coordinate military units. The technology was adopted by various countries involved in the conflict, in particular by the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Italy. And after the First World War, radiotelegraph spread all over the world, and Marconi gained his eternal fame. Marconi even shared the Nobel Prize with Carl Ferdinand Braun in recognition of his contribution to the development of wireless telegraph in 1909.
A man fills this space with hydrogen. He employs all my instrumentalities, everything that is necessary, but calls it a new wireless system. I cannot stop it. Another man puts in here a kind of gap. He gets a Nobel Prize for it. The inventive effort involved is about the same as that of which a 30-year-old mule is capable.
Against the background of the fabulous success of Marconi, the story of Nikola Tesla developed. Tesla had a great theory. To transmit energy and signals, Tesla proposed using the earth as a conductor instead of wires. He envisioned a machine that could draw electricity from the earth and then pump it back at a high rate, causing ripples or disturbances that could be picked up by receiving circuits far away. He believed it could even be used to transmit power for industrial purposes with high efficiency and over any distance. Tesla was going to implement this theory with the help of a huge tower, and the name of it, Wardenclyffe. The tower was planned to be built on Long Island in Shoreham. Tesla purchased 200 acres of land close to a railway, 65 miles away from New York City, in Shoreham on Long Island. Tesla began to attract public attention to Wardenclyffe project, and Tesla started as a typical Tesla by writing an article for Century magazine. In this article, he talked about using the wireless communication and inventing things that could prevent war. Most importantly, the article included his famous photo from experiments in Colorado Springs on wireless power transmission. In addition to public attention, Tesla needed significant investments to implement his project. As we know, Tesla had a financial partner named George Westinghouse. And in 1888, Tesla sold part of his AC generator to Westinghouse and agreed to receive a royalty of $2.5 for each AC horsepower produced by Tesla's motors. In the 90s, Westinghouse had financial problems due to his rivalry with Thomas Edison over the war of currents. He asked Tesla to change their agreement, and Tesla agreed without any objections. We're not sure how the contract was altered, but we do know that Tesla did not receive the same amount of royalties. We also know that since then a lot of water has flowed from Niagara Falls and huge kilowatts of energy have been transferred using Tesla's engines. In 1900, Tesla came to Westinghouse for financing and received $6,000. Let's calculate. Tesla could have received $6,000 for producing 2,400 AC power under a contract of 1888. To compare, let's figure out how much money Tesla could have made per year under that contract. Westinghouse used Tesla's generators all over, but we will only use data from the generators used at Niagara Falls for our calculations. Niagara Falls power plant was initially equipped with 3 generators and each capable of producing 5,000 horsepower for a total of 15,000 horsepower. The term horsepower is a unit of power, not energy, so it is not appropriate to measure the output of a Niagara Falls generators in horsepower per year. Instead, we can measure the energy output in kilowatt hours. 1 horsepower is equal to 0.7355 kilowatts. To estimate the energy generated per year, we would need to know the plant's capacity factor, which is the ratio of the actual output over a period of time to its potential output if it were operating at a full capacity continuously. The capacity factor of hydroelectric plants can vary significantly depending on water availability and other factors. A typical capacity factor for hydroelectric plants ranges from 30 to 70%. For our calculations, we will take the minimum capacity factor of 30%. Let's put all the conditions in one form. For a year, $11,000.
First of all, in the moment when Niagara starts, project or Niagara power plant and all that system of electrifying, global electrifying, the contract with Westinghouse was, I think, $2 per 1 horsepower. So imagine how much money is that when you put all induction motors and horsepowers that they are working on and income to Tesla. But there is also important moment when Tesla makes some kind of mistakes. For example, that contract is really good example because in one moment Westinghouse company must incorporate with General Electric. In that moment, the lawyers from General Electric said that contract with Tesla is impossible and they must change that. And Westinghouse came to him, they were really good friends, and came to him and said it is impossible, and Tesla just ripped that contract. So there is some assuming of how much money he could earn from that contract, but he didn't even try to build new contract, some maybe realistic or something like that. He just ripped that contract and said it's okay.
So Tesla turned to other investors of his time for help, in particular to John Pierpont Morgan, financier, investor, and head of one of the largest banks in the world, JP Morgan, wanted to invest in one of Tesla's promising projects because he recognized the value of Tesla's patents. Since the late 80s, patents have become the most important source of investment for Tesla. Tesla was able to prove the priority of his patents over Marconi's patents, at least to his investor. For the Wardenclyffe project, JP Morgan gave Tesla $150,000. Wardenclyffe was meant to be a transatlantic wireless communication system that would be better than Marconi's wireless telegraph system. Nikola Tesla had patents, his own theories, and investments. And what could went wrong? The Wardenclyffe construction started in 1901. Later this year, in December, Marconi made first wireless transatlantic transmission of the signal from England to Newfoundland. And this is the most important event that we should pay close attention to. First, Marconi was ahead of Tesla in transmitting the transatlantic signal. Second, Marconi did not have to build a huge tower for this. And third, the world did not care if Marconi actually did this. Critics question whether the experiment was valid for a few reasons. Some think that given the technology available and the distance between stations, it is unlikely that Marconi's signal could have been strong enough to be detected in Newfoundland. Some critics argue that the experiment was not verified independently and Marconi may have been influenced by wishful thinking or could have falsified the results. Radio signals were subject to interference from atmospheric noise, and critics suggest that Marconi may have mistaken this noise for his intended signal. Despite this controversy, JP Morgan looked at Marconi's achievements and stopped funding Tesla's project. Tesla struggled to find other investors. In 1906, construction of Wardenclyffe was finally suspended. Tesla was unable to complete this project. In 1917, Wardenclyffe was scrapped at the expense of the money from which Tesla repaid his debts. Despite all these difficulties, Tesla did not give up. Nikola Tesla tried to show in word and deed that it was his genius that became the basis for all the achievements of the Italian inventor. So he sued Marconi in 1915. The claim was considered in the United States District Court of New York. Tesla claimed that Marconi had violated his patents related to wireless communication. Tesla believed that his patents included the principles of radio communication. The legal proceedings involved several hearings and motions, with both parties presenting evidence and arguments. Tesla argued that Marconi's wireless system was based on his inventions, while Marconi claimed that his system was the result of his own research and development. In the end, the case was settled out of court in 1917. Tesla just didn't have enough money to continue. Marconi agreed to pay Tesla a small royalty on all future sales of wireless equipment, and Tesla was granted additional patents related to wireless technology. The settlement did not include any admission of guilt on Marconi's part, and both parties agreed to drop their respective claims against each other. Tesla did not get the result he wanted. He won't get it for another 26 years. But what if the court had made a decision on the merits? Who would win?
By that time, the number of patents in patent portfolios of Tesla and Marconi is almost equal. They still choose the same jurisdictions for obtaining protection, but the topics of their patents are very different. Tesla touched several areas of technology. He patented fountain, induction generator, fuel feeding device for a motor, and even a lamp. At the same time, Marconi is concentrated on one single technology: wireless signal transmission. If the court had ruled on Tesla's claim, the Marconi's patents would have been invalidated. If we compare devices from Tesla's and Marconi's patents, we can see that Tesla clearly demonstrated the use of resonant circuits in 1893 and filed it as an application in 1898. The Marconi's patent was just afterwards adjusted. The difference is in the used media. In Tesla's patents, it was the earth, and in Marconi's patents, it was the air. The idea of the invention and the principle were the same, but the purpose and application were different. Tesla was trying to make a wireless system that could help sending signals and messages all over the world with the help of the earth. And Marconi was making a simple apparatus for everyday use, radio telegraph. However, Tesla didn't take the opportunity to challenge Marconi's patent. As a result, Marconi remained the patent holder during the most rapid growth of radio, from 1915 until 1940, and could solely receive all income from the use of patented invention.
Many people from different backgrounds, societies, and government structures wanted to use Marconi's products. Some of them even did so without permission, violating his patent rights. Consequently, Marconi and his companies filed numerous lawsuits in Great Britain and the United States to defend their patent rights. But there were two remarkable cases, one in the United Kingdom and one in the United States. In 1910, Marconi's company filed a lawsuit against the British Radio, Telegraph and Telephone Company in Britain. The Marconi's company found a violation of British patent number 7777 in the actions of the British Radio Company. This patent occupies an important place in the history of radiotelegraphy because it describes the solution to the problem of interference between transmitting stations. This was a huge problem in spark gap transmitters. The invention had greatly increased the distance to which messages could be sent. The Marconi's company saw a violation of its rights in the creation and sales of devices that used the Marconi patent. The defendant tried to challenge Marconi's patent in that case based on the fact that such an invention was previously disclosed in Nikola Tesla's patents. Marconi's invention involved using a pair of circuits instead of a single circuit in both the transmitter and receiver. This method allowed for better communication for tuning the circuits to the same frequency, thus ensuring the efficient transfer of energy between the transmitter and receiver and minimizing interference from other signals. Tesla's British patent of 1891 focused on the raising of voltage of oscillations for lightning lamps without mentioned tuning. In his patent of 1896, Tesla emphasized tuning circuits but didn't provide clear instructions on tuning the relevant circuits together. In a lecture in Philadelphia in 1893, Tesla showed a transformer, the secondary coil of which contained an adjustable condenser for the purpose of tuning it to the primary coil, but doubted its utility in the wireless telegraphy without the aid of wires. In 1896, Tesla still doubted the usefulness of tuning in relation to any of the purpose covered by his patent. Marconi's approach differed by deliberately using loosely coupled circuits and tuning them together. This allowed the system to focus on the desired signal and disregard unwanted ones. Marconi's invention didn't aim to increase voltage or use transformers in the same way they had been used before. And the court found no evidence of Marconi's idea in existing literature and concluded that the argument of lack of subject matter in Marconi's patent was unfounded. This highlights the innovative nature of Marconi's invention in the field of wireless telegraphy. Commercial success achieved by the later inventor and patentee cannot save his patent from the defense of anticipation by a prior inventor. In the United States, Marconi had a patent which was a copy of a British patent. It was this patent that the United States Patent Office initially refused to issue but eventually granted him legal protection despite Tesla's previously registered patents. This patent, as well as its twin in the United Kingdom, became the basis for Marconi's appeal to protect his rights. In the First World War, the United States government heavily depended on radio technology for military operations and communication. Marconi's inventions were considered the most advanced in wireless telegraphy, making them highly valuable for military use. As a reliable and efficient means of communication was needed to support the war effort, Marconi's technology provided a practical solution. The United States government used Marconi's technology without obtaining any licenses, which resulted in the Marconi Wireless Telegraph Company versus United States case. The Marconi Company brought the suit in the Court of Claims to recover damages for infringement of 4 patents and reissues. In October 1935, the United States Court of Claims ruled in favor of Marconi Company, stating that patent was infringed, but the reissue patent was not. The United States government filed an appeal for review of a decision, with the exception of a part of reissue patents. The United States Supreme Court stated the following. First, Tesla apparatus protected by patent 645576 was devised primarily for transmission of energy to any form of energy-consuming device. But patent specification also recognized that this apparatus could, without change, be used for wireless communication, which is dependent upon the transmission of electrical energy. The specification also states that the inductance of the charging circuit is so calculated that the primary circuit vibrates generally according to adjustment, from 230,000 to 250,000 times per second. Tesla's frequency range of 230 kHz to 250 kHz falls within the range of radio frequencies. This indicates that Tesla's invention was indeed intended to operate at radio frequencies, making it suitable for wireless communication. Second, Marconi's recognition as the pioneer of successful radio transmission is based on his initial patent, granted on July 13, 1897, and later reissued. This specific patent was not the subject of the United States Supreme Court's examination in the case. In a complex ruling, the Supreme Court decided that Marconi's patent number 763772 was invalid, as it was preceded by patents from Tesla and other inventors. Marconi was still considered the father of radio, but one of his patents was invalid, and this showed the vulnerability of his patents and his wrongness. Tesla could celebrate victory. Finally.
The patents opposed to Marconi's application had revealed individual parts that were combined in a single technology in Marconi's invention. 5 of 9 judges of the Supreme Court stated that Marconi's invention was anticipated by John Stone and Oliver Lodge. The Supreme Court also studied Tesla's patents and noted that Tesla used 4-tuned circuit system before Marconi. As it was said in the ruling of the court, Tesla had described this system in his applications of 1897 and 1900. It was said in those applications that a 4-circuit system should be used while using 2 circuits at each part, a transmitter and receiver. All 4 circuits should operate on the same frequency. In fact, the same system was used by Marconi. The court said that between 2 inventors, the priority would be awarded to the one who, by satisfying proof, can show that he first conceived of the invention. Thus, not only filing a patent application would be considered as a fact of disclosure, but also the fact of creation of the invention. This approach had a significant impact on the future patent and patent challenging history of the United States. Thanks to this approach, the court took into account not only Tesla's patents, but also the disclosure of his inventions on lectures and demonstrations, which were not only attended by a large public, but also covered in newspapers. An important role was played by the fact that in Tesla's patent it was said that it could be applied in various fields. So in fact, Tesla's and Marconi's inventions could be used in the same field. Compliance with this condition is necessary so that one patent could be opposed to another. An important role was also played by the fact that Tesla patent described a wide scope of application of his invention, including transmission of electrical signal. So in fact, Marconi's and Tesla's patent could be used in the same field. Compliance with this condition is necessary to oppose one patent to another. Following this decision, the US Supreme Court overturned most of Marconi's patents. The Supreme Court of the United States didn't dispute the British original patent of Marconi, nor his reputation as the inventor of radio. However, if British patent was disputed, it would most likely be challenged, since it is a combination of the same known parts. Oddly enough, Tesla could have prevented all these disputes with Marconi simply by providing more full and detailed description of his patent. Tesla chose the way of patenting according to costs and his mindset. He protected key elements which could be applied in different spheres. But at the same time, the description of Tesla's patents was too short and brief, and unfortunately it didn't reveal all the opportunities and possibilities of use and implementation of his inventions. That is why it was difficult to oppose his patents to later patents. Apparently, Tesla was too busy working on his inventions, and it was hard to combine this with their protection and commercialization.
So why Marconi is still considered to be father of radio? Because Nikola Tesla was focused on the wireless transmission and not wireless communication. This can be found in his speeches, and British court mentioned that in its decision about Marconi's patent. Have Tesla's inventions been used in radio telegraphy? Of course, yes. But such application of them was not immediately evident to everyone who used it. By the time the significance of Tesla's inventions were clear to almost everyone, the whole radio market was formed, and Tesla, unfortunately, had no place in it anymore. While Tesla was concentrating on land-based experiments, the radio technology actively implemented in the maritime settings. Dozens of inventors from a different country was as passionate in the wireless transmission as Tesla. In a highly competitive environment, without stable financial support, and with his serious ambitions to revolutionize the world through his wireless technology, Tesla did not receive the recognition he deserved as one of the pioneers of wireless communication during his lifetime. Tesla passed away on January 7, 1943. Tesla did not live to the day of invalidation of Marconi's patent, and he did not live to the day of adoption of his theories and technologies by all of major technology companies. Tesla remained devoted to his theories, and as subsequent development shows, his dedication was not in vain. This was episode 3 of IP Tesla.